5 minutes? Okay. Okay, with that, we're back from the special meeting, the closed session, and we have no reportable action to report on tonight. And with that, we will adjourn our special meeting, take a 5-minute break, and come back at 11 after 6 for our regular meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Pastor Josue. I just want to do a quick mic check.
Can you hear me? Is this Reina?
Yes, this is me. We can hear you very loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, City Clerk. All right, with that, we will call our Selma City Council regular meeting, February 22nd, 2022. It is 6:10. About now. There we go. Green light just got greener. All right. Let's re-adjourn the re-adjournment of the meeting here, or open the opening of the Selma City Council regular meeting. We'll get rid of that feedback. February 22nd of 2022. It really is 6:11 now. We're in the Selma City Council chambers. The webinar ID is 895-8415-3209. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press *9 to raise your hand, and we'll select you from the meeting queue. Press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. This meeting is being held in accordance with AB 361, which allows the city council to hold meetings that are teleconferenced. The public may also view the meeting on YouTube. With that, we will ask for our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Josue Guevara of the People's Church of Selma. Do we have Pastor Josue online or here?
Yes, I am present.
Okay, Pastor, welcome.
Thank you. Lord, we come before you, acknowledging that you are our Father and God of all creation. We pray seeking the peace and prosperity of our city of Selma, where you have placed us. We pray to you, Lord, that you will continually give our city officials the compassion, wisdom, and strength to lead our city, to prosper, because we know that if our city prospers, we too, the residents, will prosper. So we pray as leaders, as it has been declared by King David, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. So we humbly ask you, Lord God, acknowledging, Lord, that we are leaders. We might have titles. We might have, Lord God, popularity, but we know we are human beings and we are in need of a Father, you, the creator of heaven and earth. So we ask you, Lord, that you will lead us this night, Lord God, as we continue in this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Guerra,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may announce the item now and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council on any issue within its jurisdiction, but not on the agenda. No action or discussion will take place on any item raised during oral communications. Items of interest will be referred to the city manager for further review. Speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who would like to say anything at this time?
This is, out of all the years I've been around, this is the first time I've ever been up here. My name is Cheryl Kane. I'm from Bloomy's Floral. We are at 1901 High Street. Mayor and council members, I come before you tonight to discuss the problem with vendors who show up during holidays, specifically flower vendors at our local intersections. Each year, we continuously notice more and more flower vendors showing up within the city limits selling their product, for example, Valentine's and Mother's Day. I'm here tonight to ask the city to hold the vendors to the same accountability as you do local small businesses. Much like the 4th of July holiday, you require fireworks booths to obtain a business license. Thank you for listening, and we would be happy to speak to code enforcement or city manager if they have any questions from us.
Great, thank you for that. Would anyone else like to say anything?
Our City Council, Shar Tucker, 2411 Country Club Lane. I'd just like to tag off of what Cheryl said. For my business, I have a car wash across the street from Bank of America, and we used to have so many problems with car washes every weekend, which takes away from my business, the same as our vendors, street vendors, take away from our local businesses. And I think this could probably be stopped if maybe code enforcement came out on a Saturday. And I don't know if you ticket these people or what you do, but you know, our local businesses, they pay utilities and rent and insurance and business licenses. And the street vendors, they don't have any of that. And when we, you know, have discussed having a bid here in Selma, it seems like that kind of conflicts with the street vendors that we allow here in town. So I would ask you to help support our local businesses and do something about the street vendors. And then on a second note, just want to remind everyone about our military banner program. We're getting a lot of calls, and I think so far we've sold about 15. So I hope you're all out there supporting this, because this is a great way to support our local military heroes. Thank you.
Thank you. Else with oral communications?
$19.01. But the intersection of High and 2nd Street, which is where we are located at. I don't know if semi trucks are allowed to be there, but I do know that there is a small sign over by McCall and Floral stating no trucks. I don't know if that has changed or not. The road is very narrow over by our shop, causing semis to go up on the curb and go over the flower bed. The sign has been hit many times to the point that has actually been moved over. Our delivery van has been very close to being hit many times due to how narrow it is. A couple of months ago, a school bus actually hit one of our plant vendors' trucks who was parked in the loading zone and just kept on going. Cars fly by all day long, trying to beat the light. And many times Cheryl and myself have been very close to being hit due to how fast they drive through that intersection. So all I ask is that we take a look at how dangerous that intersection can be. So whether it's putting up some more signage or patrolling right there or something, but that intersection can be very dangerous.
Thank you very much.
Ramos, and I'm Vintage Marketplace on 2nd Street. And I want to say, with Yesenia, I have noticed since I've been there for 4 years that the traffic in that area is really bad. They go really fast. I myself have almost been hit going to the Mexican restaurant to buy lunch and almost got hit by somebody. Even a Fresno County Sheriff guy, 5 cars wouldn't even stop at the stop walk for me to even cross the road, even, you know, the Fresno County Sheriff gentleman, and I was quite surprised. And even the elderly ladies that are at the hair and all that jazz, I've seen them, and it's like, I get nervous because it's like, I know somebody's going to get hit by a car because they're driving so fast. And when you did have the red light, blinking red light, the traffic really slowed down. So I just feel like, you know, either patrol, do something, try just so we could protect walking on the sidewalk and in the crosswalk.
And address items raised during oral communications, but we will have an item tonight on street road safety. That'll be the first item, the presentation. And then in terms of the military banners, we can't discuss that. Can I ask to put that on an agenda since it's going to be in a public place? Can be on Whitson. Thank you. Okay, With that, we will move on from oral communications to our special presentation tonight, which is a certificate of recognition for Bob Allen, presented by Mayor Pro Tem Bev Cho.
I got the honor to present to Bob. Certificate. City of Selma Certificate of Appreciation presented to Bob Allen. In appreciation of your years of service to the citizen of Selma, your entirely dedication and willingness to always go forward and beyond to be commended. On behalf of the citizens of Selma, the Selma City Council thanks you and wishes you well in your retirement. Presented by our council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate this very much. Thank you, all of you. Serving this community has been a lifelong commitment for mine, but for the last 8 years, the Chamber of Commerce. It's been extremely exciting and rewarding for me, but I didn't do it by myself. It was a team effort, and I need to thank my wife, who is my partner in life, who was right there beside me for the chamber and continues to be there as we now are spending our time going through room by room. Decluttering, I guess is the word. We've been in our home for 48 years and we have forgotten how much stuff we have. So I used to call her a hoarder, now I call her a cherisher. And Virginia Lees was in the office volunteering for years. Thank you, Virginia. And Shar and Cheryl and Asenia for all their support during our events and working with us. Una, Tristan, also, and even Rose was on our board for a while and helped make the job so easy and rewarding. So on behalf of all of you, I want to thank you. And we are enjoying retirement. Thank you. Oh, and I forgot Beverly. Beverly's on my board too. She was on my board. And Joe Albert. Who else is on my that I've forgotten about? I've been gone for 2 months. I don't know who you are anymore. But thank you very much. It was rewarding. This is a great community. I hope we continue always to work together. The Chamber and the City of Selma has had a unique partnership over many, 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 many years. And it's not always found in other cities. And we may have our differences occasionally, but we always come together when the need is there and we put Selma first. So thank you all. Okay.
And I agree with Bob here. Our chamber actually is one of the better ones in our area, very strong, and we're very united. Because I was here before Bob came in and we were not quite that together, and now we have a very strong group working together. Thank you for your service.
We'll continue to do wonderful things for Selma.
All right. Thank you for that. We will move on to the consent calendar now. All items listed under consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion, roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does anyone have an item or items they would like to remove from the consent calendar tonight?
Remove item E, checkers.
Mayor, if I may, if I could request for item D to be pulled. at the request of the EDC, they are no longer in need of that letter of support.
We need a separate vote to pull item D or just approve it? Okay. So with that, is there a motion to approve items 1A through C?
Motion?
Second, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro, Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay. Item E.
Okay. Just one here. On page 42, check number 78941 for Quadnoff on calling planning service for the amount of $16,985.20. My question is, will this amount start coming down now that we have a city planner?
Well, good question. We've had since I came on board, this is about the consistent range of their billing. So the community development director, which our deputy city manager is acting as the community development director, is less involved with the day-to-day processing of permit applications, whether it's rezones or things of that nature that our planning contractor does. So this amount is probably consistent with what we've seen over the last year or so since I came on board with the city, originally as the community development director. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
And to more directly answer your question, I don't see it coming down. And on the contrary, it probably will increase because of the number of applications, the increase in applications that we anticipate to receive going forward.
So Rob's position is he's kind of doing a little bit of fill-in for the.
Well, he is the community development director, but he's overseeing, if you recall, when the council approved the creation of the deputy city manager position over development services, it included building, planning, code enforcement, engineering, and public works. And so as the deputy city manager over development services, he oversees the planning division, which is made up of himself. He's a certified planner, as well as the staff planners who are contract planners really through QK. So we still need a planning staff, and this amount reflects that.
So you're saying that the community development director made this amount that you previously saw, or you're saying that this amount was charged by Quadnoff on a monthly basis?
Not this exact amount, of course. There's a certain range, and usually you see a range between $15,000 and $25,000, depending on the activity that QK charges for their planning services. Not at all correlated with the salary of the community development director.
Okay. Okay, I have one, page 43, check number 78970, Yamabe and Horn Engineering Services, December 2021, $92,830. That's the most I think I've ever seen for engineering for 1 month. What does that entail?
Just being busy. We've got a lot going on. There are some projects that this amount reflects that we end up billing back to the applicant, but Yamabe and Horn bills us. And I did ask our city engineer to be here today, and he's looked over the invoices, and I've looked over them. A lot of it has to do with the GIS project that we're implementing at the moment, which will be reimbursed. Normally you see an R next to those items that are going to be reimbursed on the check register. For the most part, Yamabe and Horn services are not reimbursable, but there are some items that are grant related that are going to be reimbursed. But the GIS is probably in the neighborhood of $25,000, which is what we're ultimately going to be billed.
And that was funded out of what pot?
That's
GIS?
the TOD grant through Fresno COG.
So 25,000 of that is the.
We haven't invoiced the full GIS amount. They've done some work. Probably, I think the last invoice was around $9,000, maybe a little bit more than that. I can't recall the exact amount, but and Philip, feel free to elaborate if you have anything else to add to that.
Sure.
For the December invoices, I went through them quickly. I didn't have all the time in the world to go through it thoroughly, but it was just a different month. We had the five major things that increased it from, we're normally been about 40 to 45,000 per month. And that's just day-to-day activities. This month for December, the biggest items were the alphabet streets. We're doing a design project for the city. It's estimated about $1.7 million project. We estimate the design cost to be about $150,000. So at this point, we invoiced roughly about 39,000, which put us at about 50% of our design cost up to that point. So it's just a big month because we did a lot of topo, a lot of design stuff. So this month just had probably about $25,000 more than what we would bill normally on that project, just because it hit all at once. Another big item, which is general engineering services, we did a lot more, spent more time at the city with our hours, our weekly hours were increased a little bit. And then this month, we just had a lot of additional meeting times that were outside the normal office hours that we have here. It was just, with the Highland stuff, encroachment, Caltrans. So we just had about $11,000 more on meeting times with Fresno COG, developers, and just with city staff.
Okay.
And two other smaller things, about $5,000 each, was encroach permits. Obviously, whenever they call, we go to, inspect the permits. So this month was just a little bit higher than normal, about $5,000 more. And then for the one big thing was AB 74, our Valley View Storm Drain project. We had to revise and prepare some stuff that weren't prepared previously. So that was about a $5,000 cost that we incurred in this month that we normally haven't been incurring. So that adds up to about $46,000 on just those 5 items that kind of increased that month just a little bit higher than our usual stuff. And then obviously the following month, I think for January, we went down to, I think, about the normal $42,000 to $45,000 range. So this was just a different month.
Great. Well, it caught my attention, 92,000. I've never seen it get close to 100,000 before, so I appreciate the explanation.
And then the invoices are all, we have the hourly rates, we have all of our time, detailed out. So all the information's here at the city that you can easily see what we bill every day.
We can look at the monthly too and get an average of that.
Just a quick comment. It's music to my ears. That means we're developing. And that's it. The fact that you're stating that you're proactive on some of the projects and you're doing, that's a good job. So thank you for that. It really means a lot. This information that you're doing actually saves the city money in the future. So thank you for that. That's very proactive.
We're trying to be very proactive. When we get calls, inspection time, we're trying to be there, and we're inspecting a lot better. I think we're safeguarding the city a little bit more, just because we're out in the field actually inspecting more of the construction that they're doing in the city.
If I may add one more item, not to belabor the point, but the Alphabet Streets project, the 39,000 and the AB 74 are grant funded projects. So we will be reimbursed for those. AB 74 storm drain project.
In the future, we could see an R next to that. I remember when I used to not see that R and ask the same questions, and the R helps.
Okay.
that we
So
know
even
some
if
of
it's
these-
partially reimbursable,
even
you
if
wanna
it's
say?
partially
Okay.
reimbursed, it just helps.
We'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thanks,
Thank you,
Phil.
Philip.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any other items? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, call the roll for item E, please.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro. Yes. Mayor Robertson.
Yes. No public hearing scheduled tonight, so we'll move on to regular business. Our first item is to approve or not approve the local road and safety plan as part of the multi-jurisdictional local road safety plan prepared by the Fresno Council of Governments. We have a report.
Mr. City Engineer, would you like to introduce the item?
I will. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and residents. I'm Phil Romero. I work with Umabi and Horn Engineering, and we're the city engineers for the city. So this item is, we want to approve the local road and safety plan as part of the the multi-jurisdictional local road safety plan prepared by the Fresno Council of Governments. I have a long staff report, so I'll just kind of briefly give a brief update of some of the stuff just to make you aware. If you have questions, I'll go into more detail, and then we're gonna do a little presentation. The purpose and scope is the multi-jurisdictional local road and safety plan was initiated by the Fresno Council of Governments and completed by Kittleson and Associates and Tool Design Group to enable 10 of the COG's local jurisdiction partners to prepare their first local road safety plans. The 10 participating local jurisdictions are the City of Clovis, City of Coalinga, City of Fireball, Fresno County, City of Huron, City of Kerman, City of Mendota, City of Orange Cove, City of San Joaquin, and City of Selma. The focus of the MLRSP development is to identify the following for each of the local jurisdictions: crash patterns and trends, seismic engineering treatments to help reduce crash risk, education, enforcement, and emergency services strategies to help improve roadway safety, high priority location for projects with supporting design concepts, and highway safety improvement program grant applications to facilitate securing funding for high priority safety projects. I won't go through all the details, but the City of Selma's local road and safety plan, the City of Selma has approximately a population of 24,000. The average daily vehicle miles traveled is about $167,000 and 167,000 miles. And City of Selma maintains approximately 83 total roadway centerline miles. The safety partners that were included with this is Selma Rotary, Adventist Health, Bringing Broken Neighborhoods Back to Life, Caltrans, Fresno Council of Governments, Fresno County Rural Transit, Kingsview Community Services, Selma Department of Engineering, Selma Department of Public Works, Selma District Chamber of Commerce, Selma Fire Department, and Selma Police Department and West Care Foundation. So I will just hand it off now to staff here to give a little presentation. Now further identify.
Hello.
Good evening,
Fresno
COG staff. Go ahead, sorry.
Let me share my screen 1 second. And can you all see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm Matt Brodden with Kittleson Associates here on behalf of the Fresno Council of Governments to present the multi-jurisdictional local road safety plan, specifically the Selma component of that. So I will walk through here as part of this presentation, just what is a local road safety plan, why it was created, what is in that plan, and then what happens next with that plan. And then we'll take any questions that you have there at the end. So the local road safety plan really, it's a multidisciplinary stakeholder effort, really to take a comprehensive view of roadway safety. And really what that starts with is looking at historical crash patterns and trends within the city, and then using that information to have a discussion to help inform and identify countermeasures and strategies that can help address crashes within the city. From that, we then worked with stakeholders and with city staff to identify and prioritize those safety improvements based on crash data to understand where the most frequent and severe crashes were occurring. And what that results then in is a roadway safety plan that is consistent with federal guidance that's going to help with future funding efforts through the federal infrastructure bill that was just passed, as well as Caltrans local roadway safety plan requirements that we'll talk a little bit about at the end. Why the LRSP was created, really Fresno COG began a regional safety plan effort through a grant from Caltrans, and that effort was really to set the stage for how do we address safety as a region. So looking at the kind of holistic across the entire region of Fresno County to understand what are the key safety issues that Fresno COG can help address. And then as part of that effort, they applied for and were awarded the multi-jurisdictional local road safety plan grant, which then provided funding for 10 local agencies, including Selma, to prepare their own LRSP as part of that effort. So Fresno COG back in policy board in January approve both the regional safety plan and the overall multi-jurisdictional local road safety plan, which then set the stage for us to be here tonight to present the Selma LRSP to you all. The LRSP is really intended to encourage collaboration both across the region, so coordinating with that regional safety plan and Fresno COG on those regional issues, but then also helping to build and establish local safety partners to address safety not only from the engineering perspective, but looking at educational opportunities and other messaging that can support roadway safety. It's an opportunity again to just have a forum to discuss and identify traffic safety issues, and then to identify priorities and a plan for implementation that's based on stakeholder input and the data that we have for the city. And then finally, one component and driver for the local road safety plan for Selma is that Caltrans now requires a local road safety plan in order to apply for highway safety improvement program funding, which is one of the key funding sources for getting safety improvements built and on the ground. And so with a cycle approaching up, coming up here in the next couple months, wanted to get that established for you all and on the books. So what's in an LRSP? I'll walk through this list, kind of summarizing as we go through there, and just emphasize that the document is available online at the Fresno COG website, and I believe was also included in the staff report for today's meeting, but I'll kind of step through each of these, give a quick summary, and then take questions to follow up on anything that you have. So an LRSP really starts with a vision statement. What are we hoping to achieve from this plan? So for the city of Selma, that is a roadway network that supports safe travel for our community. So really just emphasizing that roadway safety is about our community and that we're trying to help address that safety so that everybody can travel safely within the community. You see there on the chart on the right, there's been about 11 fatalities over the last 5 years that were looked at from 2015 to 2019, and additional 10 severe injuries. We put an emphasis on those fatal and severe injuries because those are really life-changing events, both either in the case of a death or a injury that significantly changes somebody's life, and then also has impacts beyond that on their family, friends, and community. And while the 600 other crashes are also important things that we want to address as part of a safety plan, we do put a special emphasis on those fatal and severe injuries just for their societal and life-changing impacts. As was mentioned, we had a number of partners for the development of the LRSP. I won't read off the list here, but just these safety partners gave key input throughout the development of the LRSP and helped provide feedback at those key milestones that really helped shape the plan and make sure that it was speaking to the issues of Selma. So jumping in a little bit into the crash analysis portion of this, about 125 crashes per year within the city, and 4 of those crashes per year on average are fatal or serious injuries. You'll see the fluctuation there in the chart. That's very normal. Crashes tend to vary over time, and that's why we look at a 5-year window that helps us understand and take into account kind of the randomness and the behavioral component of crashes over time. And so the relative low frequency of fatal and severe crashes and crashes overall in this town is a good thing, but we're going to talk a little bit more about how this helps inform the work that we do. So one area that we did identify, looking at the statewide crash averages versus the city of Selma, did notice that pedestrian and bicycle crashes have pretty significantly higher shares of the fatal and severe injury crashes within the city. Again, relatively small numbers of fatal and severe crashes overall, but when we think about those crashes, people that are walking or biking in the city are those that are more likely to be involved in a fatal or severe injury crash. A couple other key crash trends and patterns that we look at are primary collision factors, which are the violation that's most strongly associated with that crash. You'll see the improper turning, unsafe speed, and automobile right-of-way, which is where a vehicle turns out in front of another vehicle or another road user. Those are the 3 most common collision factors. When we think about those from fatal and severe injuries, we see pedestrian violations, that automobile right away again, and then DUIs move up to the top of the list when we're thinking about those higher severity crashes. And then in terms of collision types, so the generalized type of crash, whether it's someone rear-ending you or someone changing lanes and sideswiping, that the rear end hit object and sideswipe are the most common within Selma. And then, but when we focus on the collision types that are associated with fatal and severe injuries, we see that vehicle pedestrian crash, rear end crashes, and then hit object crashes where a vehicle hits an object off the side of the road. So taking all of that in, that then leads us into the development of emphasis areas. These are to help identify and focus our effort and energy. So on what are the crash types that we want to reduce the most to help get the best return on investment for safety improvements. So if we're able to address these crashes and these characteristics, they give us the greatest likelihood of reducing overall frequency and severity of crashes within Selma. And so as a kind of consistent with what we just talked about, pedestrian and bicycle crashes as being one of those key emphasis areas, rear end crashes, hit object crashes. And then that last one, driver behavior, is really targeting unsafe speeds and driving under the influence crashes, where those are crashes that are associated with driver behaviors more than engineering solutions. And so what are the opportunities that we can have to help address that? And you'll see the arrows there for 3 of those emphasis areas pointing to the California Strategic Highway Safety Plan, where those emphasis areas are consistent with what the statewide trends are. When we think about strategies for addressing that, again, just emphasizing the holistic approach of a local road safety plan. So engineering is a critical component of that, but we also recognize that it's just as important that we are educating drivers on actions that they can be taking to be using the roadway system more safely, that we're supporting that with enforcement to help make sure that people are obeying the rules of the road, and then also addressing emergency services so that when a crash does occur, that emergency responders are able to get there as quickly as possible to help reduce the potential severity of those collisions. So within the LRSP, there's engineering strategies to help address. So this is building on the regional safety plans countermeasure toolbox and identifying those treatments that are going to be most specifically helpful for addressing those emphasis area and priority crash types and locations within the city. And then using that to then identify potential candidate locations across the city for thinking about improvements consistent with those. From the education side, as part of the regional safety plan, the Safe Roads, Save Lives campaign was developed. And really this is an educational program that includes key messaging and materials that can be distributed through schools, community centers, social media, public communications, to really help bring attention to some of the most critical safety issues that are behaviorally based and help drive behavior change in that direction to create a more safe regional network. And so as part of that, Fresno COG is going to be in the near future launching that campaign. And the hope is that the city of Selma will participate and help distribute those materials and message so that there is, again, that consistent message around roadway safety across the region. From the emergency response strategies, again, I mentioned really the most important thing is how can we get emergency response to a crash event as soon as possible and reduce the communication time for the notification of that crash occurring and the travel time to that crash, as every second that we can save on that emergency response is an opportunity to potentially reduce the severity of a crash injury. And then finally, enforcement strategies. Again, building on that, we want to establish opportunities to support the rules of the road, whether that's through active enforcement around speed enforcement, or looking at locations that have high crash frequencies, having an officer visit and kind of enforce in that area. But really just trying to help, again, support and create that holistic approach of leveraging all of our resources to address roadway safety While also recognizing that some enforcement strategies have been inequitably applied in the past, and making sure that we're taking due caution and understanding the potential opportunities for those inequities to occur during enforcement activities. So just to start wrapping up here, the next steps with the LRSP is really, again, this is the point of hopefully bringing roadway safety to the fore within the city and giving a clear plan of how to move forward. And we hope that this is used as an opportunity to continue and have regular discussion around traffic safety within the city. And then over the long run, there's a number of performance metrics and monitoring recommendations within there to help as you continue to look at roadway safety within the city, to help understand how that road safety performance is changing over time, to help track progress and then update as needed to make sure that the LRSP is responsive to your safety needs. So a final component of our work was really to help develop roadway safety improvements. So again, part of this will fall on the city to continue the work from this plan in exploring opportunities to make improvements at the locations that were identified. And again, pursue funding to help make those improvements a reality. One component of our final component of the LRSP process was to develop a highway safety improvement program, HSIP funding opportunity. And so we, as part of that project, worked with the city staff and Philip to develop a pedestrian improvement set-aside grant application for the upcoming HSIP grant cycle. And so what this includes is high visibility crossings, advanced yield lines and warning signs, and other associated improvements with a few key locations that were identified across the city to improve that pedestrian safety that was noted as one of those key emphasis areas. And so as the HSIP cycle opens up here for that grant applications in the very near future, hopefully then the city will have that grant application material ready to go and should be able to get that in, and with luck, get some funding to make those improvements in the near future. And so with that, I think we'll pause and take any questions.
Thank you. Council have any questions?
I have a question. I have a couple of questions. In regards to the, you spoke in regards, can you elaborate on what agencies are wanting, or you said something in regards to this is almost like a semi-requirement in order to get funding. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so Jennifer, do you want to start off?
I can jump in. Hi, I'm Jennifer Solis. I'm with Fresno Council of Governments. I'm a regional planner, and I was the project manager for the local road safety plan. Caltrans has a couple of competitive funding grants, HSIP being one of their major players, and quite a bit of agencies do receive a lot of funding through the Highway Safety Improvement Program. This is the first year that Caltrans is requiring each jurisdiction to adopt a local road safety plan in order to apply for those funds and be eligible to receive any funding. Starting this next cycle, as Matt mentioned, it's starting, we're anticipating April, and then for future cycles going forward. And actually, part of this grant, in order for us to do this local road safety plan, was through the HSIP funding with Caltrans. So they actually, set us up to be able to get you guys set up with a local road safety plan and hopefully adopt tonight with that in order to be eligible for those funds.
Thank you. Next question. You spoke in regards to performance metrics. The information, is that stored with you guys, or does the city get part of that information? Or so when we get ready to apply for a grant, who's going to have that information?
Yes, so the city does have all of the information that was included in this in the process. Also, as part of this, we did add additional funding for Kittleson, our consultants, to basically draft up applications in order for the cities to submit directly to Caltrans. So we pretty much drafted out an application for the City of Selma and all of the other participating agencies to be able to submit into this next cycle of HSIP. So all of that information you guys will have, and it will also be included in that draft application.
Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
I have a question. Okay, here you identified 9 locations. Can you, I'd like to know, how did these streets become identified? What information did you receive to identify that these are the main streets that would need more, I guess, focused?
Matt, are you able to answer that?
Definitely, I can take that on. So I think for
Thank
the project specific, the pedestrian set aside improvements, those ones were identified looking at where crashes had occurred historically related to pedestrian related crashes, but then also we worked with Philip to identify other potential locations where we did see the opportunity for pedestrian related improvements. I'll say overall, the general process that we took to identify locations citywide is that we look at the frequency and the severity of the crashes to identify those locations that have a combination of either high severity crashes or a large number of crashes occurring at those locations, in order to focus in on the locations where we're going to have the greatest potential to reduce those most severe outcomes and most frequent outcomes within the city. So it's a data-driven process that was then informed by discussions with the stakeholder group and with Philip to arrive at the project locations we felt were going to be the most meaningful for those improvements.
Okay, Matt, the reason I ask is because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 streets that are all pretty much next to each other. And I know we've had citizens complain just earlier in regards to some major streets like our 2nd Street and High Street. And we've also had issues on Dockery and McCall and Dinuba. I'm just stating that these are streets that are very, very vital for kids that have to walk. And I don't see any of those streets even mentioned on any of these.
Yeah, and I can, so one component of this is the pedestrian set aside that we are trying to apply for severely is a very narrow focus in terms of what are the improvements that we can recommend. And so for some of those more major streets that you were listing off, we would want to do something more that wouldn't be eligible under that specific program. And so we are trying to identify a set of locations that can meet some specific project development requirements as well as broader safety requirements as well. So
yeah, and if I may just jump in as well, what the recommendation or the draft application is actually an added component, not part of the local road safety plan and what you're adopting tonight. This is actually just an added component at what Fresno Cog, contributed to in order to set up each agency for, hopefully a successful application. What we are recommending there is also what Kittleson and, all of us feel would be the most competitive in the HSIP program. But that does not mean that you cannot submit those other locations that, we heard tonight and all of those areas of concern. You're more than, we can help you with that as well. But you are able to still submit additional projects, additional locations, if some of your constituents do have that concern, and if the city council wants to as well.
I actually see that the #1 area on page 90 shows McCollin and Goldridge, which I believe is where we just had a recent accident. Was it this weekend? So I see that one's on the top. It's #1. McCollin Goldridge.
McCollin
What was on the
Nelson.
McCollin Nelson? Oh, okay. I apologize. McCollin Nelson. Oh yeah, it was by Shadbrook. But McCollin Goldridge, McCollin Hicks, like anything down McCall really is pretty bad. Like we need to have something there because of the fact that the families go across the street, they just walk across the street to the grocery store. And so I know that there's not a lot of crosswalks there. So I'd like to see that one on one of these lists for the pedestrian set-asides.
It would be a different, so pedestrian set aside is, I guess, a component of the HSIP program. There is also just projects, individual projects. So one of those intersections would be submitted as a project that would have to compete with, obviously other projects across the state, and the cost benefit of the project would have to be a certain amount in order to be competitive. But like I said, we at Fresno Cog are more than happy to work with Philip and city staff to come up with maybe or help with an application. If not successful in the HSIP program, we can definitely help identify other funding sources for those locations or issues that you may identify within the city.
So would LCF or CMAQ funds be potential funding sources as well for creative people who know how to get CMAQ funding? Is that also potential for local road projects, crosswalks and the like?
So it does depend on the location. CMAQ and STVG are our largest federal funding sources, but they do have some restrictions as far as eligible roads. They do have to be federal aid eligible. However, there could be, some potential, depending on the location, for active transportation and pedestrian, type projects as well. We can definitely look to identify once we find out what improvements actually want to be done there and what's the best fit for the city of Selma.
And it just seems that the trending here is near schools, Wright Street and Mitchell and Fig near Eric White, and then Wright's the high school in Jackson. And I can't tell you how many people tell me all the time, people use that as speed alley. And the next kind of corollary to that is, why don't we have speed bumps there? And the thinking has been against speed bumps because it damages cars, it slows emergency responses. At the same time, Fresno, I think, was the first one, and maybe they're setting a trend, but they just put speed bumps back in on Betaravia the first one since 2003. And I saw some in Salinas. Okay. Hanford has them in front of a school in Salinas, a rubber. I even took a picture and sent it to the city manager and to the director of public works, and they've got their number on it. And it's not hugely invasive, but it reminds people. And from hearing the folks talk tonight, the business owners talk tonight about High Street and Second Street, it seems that people just need to be paying attention, like they're not. So that leads into my last question. This is great about historical crash patterns and trends, but what's causation? What are these accidents caused by? Is it you see a lot of pedestrians, bicyclists. I see they're riding on the wrong side of the road. That's a big one for bicyclists. But how much is the fault of the user themselves, the driver who's not paying attention, who's texting, who's maybe impaired, the pedestrian, same thing. How much is it, what's the causal factor of behaviors?
I can take a stab at that. It's a very complicated and big question that I think the entire roadway safety community is trying to wrestle with. And so the short answer is it very much depends on the location. And so that's why we have that long list of priority locations that's within there. That doesn't mean that every single project or every single one of those will turn into a particular project. So a key stage of kind of getting to that actually something to implement. So this is the plan that helps identify the priorities of where you would look to develop a project. The next step of that is then to do a crash diagnosis at that particular site to understand what exactly is occurring with the crashes. Is there a consistent pattern that is occurring that we can address through proven countermeasures? And how do we and do those countermeasures that we could use, do they actually apply to this particular location? So there's a process that needs to happen as part of that project development component. And so some sites you will go and look at that crash, for example, of to the things that you may not address through an engineering component. That site might have 3 DUI crashes at it. So that's not something that we're going to engineer our way out of people driving while under the influence and then crashing their vehicle. And so that kind of points to that holistic view of how can we use educational programs or enforcement activities to help support the engineering improvements of making a safe system so that the roadway is forgiving for those crashes, but also recognizing that driver behavior is a huge component and actually the largest component associated with crashes. So the engineering can make incremental change, but to holistically address roadway safety, it needs to be an effort beyond just making engineering improvements to the roadway.
Because, you know, Second and High Street is how many hundreds of feet from the police station? It's right there. So it's not the enforcement strategy. It doesn't seem to intimidate or cause people to think twice going really fast at Second and High Street and going down Second Street. It seems to be a behavior that's learned, that's tolerated, and that's been done for a while, and that people are just used to doing. And it's causing more and more issues to pedestrians and business owners and folks in our town. I think it's happened at a lot of these intersections. We just have to break that chain, find a way, and it's good to have these items, these pinch points, these places. Unfortunately, it takes accidents to make things happen sometimes. Like remember Bethel? Remember the horrible deaths that we had at Bethel? And finally a signal, a stoplight was put in there. But it took some horrendous accidents there to get any action. And I hope we don't have to wait for some of these, you know, to have action at these intersections. Did anybody in the public tonight have any questions or any issues they'd like to talk about with the folks from Kittle Center from Fresno Council of Governments? Do we have anyone on the line or on the phone? Okay, great. With that, we will bring it back to the council. One last thing, we have joining us tonight, Jennifer Solis. She's us from Council of Governments. I had been asking about the Golden State Corridor Plan, which has been around for a long time. That will completely renovate Old 99 from Fowler through Selma to Kingsburg. It's been on the books for years. It's at 100% design. And I was asking, well, how's Peggy Arness doing on that? She's the project manager. It turns out Peggy retired a month ago and Jennifer took over. So that project will really help the safety of that roadbed by completely redoing it, putting in bike lanes, getting rid of that oleander, and just redoing that road. And that is with Measure C money. That's countywide sales tax money, 46 million the last time I checked. And Jennifer, could you just give us a really brief update? When is that setting to commence?
Yes, so we, along with the measure, we also have some state funding as well, about $7 million in state funding. So we are looking to get that allocated, hopefully within this summer. And then we should be going out to bid for construction by the end of this year. So we should be looking to see some type of start of construction early next year. And we are really excited to get that project kicked off for construction. As yes, Peggy retired and I'm happy to take it over and see it through to construction.
Thanks very much. And we have a comment. Step up.
Order.
Okay.
Louis Franco.
It's related.
She already gone.
No, she's there.
Okay. I know they said because of since they're going for funding, and you mentioned they're going to put the bike trails in. I know in the past they talked about maybe doing the bike trails later. Are they going after funding so they can put in not only refurbish the corridor itself, but put the bike trails in it at the same time?
The bike trails are still in the plans, unfortunately not at the same time due to some time conflicts and coordination with the railroad. The bike trail itself is still on the books. However, it is a little bit delayed and will not be constructed at the same time with the road reconstruction.
And is that bike trail going to be the same, say if somebody wanted to walk or jog along that corridor? There's no trail for that either at this time, or that comes in with the bike trail?
There will be bike paths, like a complete street throughout the corridor of Golden State, along, just like a typical class 2, I believe, bike path in the road. Right now, with the construction, they will stripe the bike lane throughout that corridor. That will be included.
Okay, but nothing for pedestrians at this time for like say, like the mayor's a jogger, if you wanted to jog to follow him back. There's nothing like a.
Not as it was planned out, like the bike trail. But as I mentioned, the bike trail is going to still be planned. We had to separate the two projects in order to get this piece built.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? That will bring it back to council. Is there a motion to approve the local road and safety plan? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro, Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Then we'll move on to item 3, which is the downtown strategic plan funding discussion and update. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and council members, our economic development analyst, Tracy Tosta, will be making this presentation over Zoom.
Good evening, everyone. It's really good to be here. This is actually going to be my last city council meeting. And just to check, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So today we're just reviewing our activities with downtown. Now it's the start of a new year. Just kind of want to reinvigorate the discussion about downtown and provide an update as to what we've been working on and where we will be going with the funding that we've received through several different grants. So far, we've identified some things that we have to keep in mind as we're looking at downtown, including the types of businesses that we're attracting, the various energy and housing development goals, looking at inclusive design and making sure that our community is walkable. And I'm really excited to have been able to see that presentation on the complete, the local road and safety plan. I think some of those issues with downtown can be wrapped nicely into a piece of our activities with downtown. And currently we have the TOD funding in play. Part of that is going to our zoning code update, specifically targeting strategies for downtown and how to make that zoning code more friendly for the objectives that we have. And we are working on the business improvement district. We took a little break for the winter, but now that we're back in action, we'll be working on the formation portion with the same contractor that we had, and we're anticipating seeing that completed fairly soon. Or starting back up fairly soon and hopefully completed, I would think about summertime at the latest. And then we also have an actual strategic plan. So I think from my understanding of the council's request was an overview of downtown. One specific piece is an actual written strategic plan. And again, that's funded with the TOD grant. So the overlay zone is just a portion of a bigger project. Originally, it was going to be a standout overlay zone, but it looks like they can just write into the code the updates that we're looking for. And that should be completed late summer this year. And the project location is very similar to the business improvement district as we seek to define what downtown is and what it's not. This image here is the current bounds that we're using for the business improvement district and the downtown district for our zoning code update. The business improvement district, we had our feasibility study done last year. Looks great. We had wonderful businesses participating in it. And I'm starting to see some movement downtown, new businesses coming in, some availabilities. I do know of a restaurant that will be headed into the downtown area soon, hopefully by this summer. And I see Printopolis is open. So there is movement and we just want to stay on top of that. This type of group will really help to increase the marketing and get more feet on the ground in our downtown area. And this kind of ties into our last presenter, that our downtown area is right in the middle of a bunch of residential areas. We have these auxiliary plans that are kind of out there in the ether, but we need one plan to bring them all together. So this image that you see is a map from our active transportation plan that shows that downtown's right in the middle of 6 different mainly residential communities that need active ways to get to and from their transportation hubs to the Commerce District. And this actual strategic plan that we want to put together will kind of piece together all of these other plans that are out there that mention downtown, that mention, traffic issues, or as the bid has stated, and some of the members that are in the audience tonight, that there's pedestrian safety issues downtown. We want to bring all these things together and make a long-term plan that gives us a roadmap for going forward. And in the strategic plan, some things are required for us to include because it's based on a grant. So things like land use, transportation, urban design, those are items that we need to include in it. But there's other aspects that we want as a community to take a look at, such as historical value. We have our beautiful Lincoln Park there. We've got our arts center. We want to take a look at what makes us Selma and include that throughout this new strategic plan. Also, we've had comments on accessibility, lots of desire for mixed use in the downtown. So there's a lot of items to consider. And this will be going out to bid hopefully within the next few weeks. There is a draft of our request for proposal on the strategic plan, but we will definitely share with you all when that is posted for bids. And as I said, this would just be really a long range document. I would hope for at least a 10-year coverage for the downtown area, just to really give a roadmap. I've only been with the city for 2 years, and people move jobs quickly. And if we have one guiding document, that will help us all do our jobs better and maintain this focus on the downtown area, instead of doing things haphazardly and buying lights at one time and, well, maybe we can get this tree moved at another time. Let's make a plan and really figure out how we can locate those funding sources, and really create a good, strong story for our downtown to be rejuvenated. We've had a lot of support for downtown, and thank you to all the community and all the businesses who have provided support letters and, called me to complain about this or that. And it's really good to have that engagement. And I just really, really hope that continues to go. So that was the short and sweet of it. I definitely want to hear from council or members of the community on any specific strategies for downtown that really stand out as you're thinking about the new year, what you'd like to see downtown. I think we have a good idea, but there's always new ideas, and I would like to welcome those comments and questions now.
Also have any comments?
I do. Tracy, thank you. It was well done. And I agree with you. I think a strategic plan, a 10-year plan would be the most powerful show of saying that we're going to strategically embed a plan that's going to have full thought and understanding and investing through budgeting and making sure that we're able to move forward. But I want to make sure I extend my thank you to you for all the hard work that you did in regards of getting all the businesses together, being that I am a small business owner, and I appreciate the meetings you had and, having people come out and talking, because this vision that we have, it's an investment, but it's also a vision that small little businesses are in downtown, and we need to show that we have a real effort of wanting to build the downtown. And it just takes one individual to start doing it, and then maybe somebody else will start, adding to it. But we also have our importance of what's needed out there. And the first thing I'm going to say is parking for the actual people that actually want to come and do commerce in downtown. A lot of our businesses get tired of chasing down the chamber and chasing down the city and saying, hey, people that own businesses park, and they're like, it's their own business, their parking lot. So that's something that needs to be brought up. I've been beating that down, and I think us as businesses, when we do commerce, we want our people to go to downtown, and being flexible and also understanding that, as well as I do, it's going to take a big investment where small businesses that maybe cater to whatever the business, we're going to want commerce in downtown. We want people to be walking downtown. Us, our owners of businesses, have to make the investment to start either relocating or finding ways. But this is the beginning. This is a start. Us as council need to make an investment. But I really agree with what you said in regards to make a long-term plan, 10-year plan, and have a vision and set forth for that. But aside of that, I want to thank you for all the hard work you did.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to make a comment as well. I know just being involved with the city and attending a lot of the chamber mixers, and we get a lot of input from the business owners. And I know we talked about, they wanted speakers, they wanted music downtown because it's very inviting. And I know we budget for that. And we still to this day have not heard anything back as to where we are with our music. And I have to say, I agree, we're taking little steps. We're trying to revitalize our downtown. We have some new building owners that are doing huge improvements to their buildings, which, like Councilmember Trujillo, one person starts and the next person. I know we talked in the past, and I attended a couple of meetings at the bid. We talked about the color coordination. Businesses also stated, hey, we can start with painting the buildings. Let's just go maybe 2-3 colors, it just starts to look like a town that wants to really move forward, just little things like that. And I have to say, everybody coming together, we've been talking about this for years. I mean, Cheryl, all of us, Bob, we've had so much input in the past years that we want to see these things happen. And it's not because we're there, it's because our clients, our customers, people want to come to downtown, and I know we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And, but continue with the inputs. I tell the citizens and the business owners, building owners, keep coming up, keep telling us, give us these ideas so that we can move forward. I know we talked to Tracy about, and I'm glad to hear that we have another restaurant coming in, because we've had people that come to our building and ask for space. We've addressed that many times. They're looking for locations in our downtown because they want to open a restaurant. They want these type of, but we've talked about this before. We just don't have those empty buildings to revitalize, to put a restaurant in. But, it's a great start that we have one coming, and hopefully it'll just continue to start blooming, So thank you.
And I just want to say thank you, Tracy. Also, she was always available for questions, and I said a list of what we have downtown, and she's like, it's right here, let me show you. So that was really great, always available for questions. On this, I know that I attended a couple of the bid meetings too. I don't know what it would take to shift this over a little bit. I know we have the Golden State corridor, but I've had developers tell me that if we can shift it to include those businesses or that property along Golden State, there's a lot of empty slots or a lot of empty lots downtown or in that area. I don't know if we can shift that over all the way down through Golden State, or what that will take, because there's a lot. And then, obviously we have to also do mixed use there, but I think that would open up a lot of opportunities for businesses to come in buildings and housing and just everything. Because and I've shared this with city manager, that I envision that like being like Clovis Avenue or Blackstone, like kind of just those vibrant businesses and vibrant restaurants and things like that. I know the parking is an issue, But I think with great planning and great engineering, I think that it is very possible to and if we're able to move that over. I don't know how possible that is, but I just wanted to also thank you, Tracy. Sad that you're leaving, but I know that it's a really hard decision when you have to make certain decisions. But thank you for all your work, and
Yes, Tracy, I'd like to thank you for your hard work, also for the City of Selma, and I wish you best wishes for your next journey. Okay. Selma's like, we do have like you've seen our murals. That might be one of the local thing for downtown. People can, we work on that a little bit and get a brochure out, and they would have, people would come because our mural system in Selma is amazing compared to the other cities, and the artists that put into those. So that to me, it might be one of the draws we can work on. Just say, hey, come to Selma and take a look at our murals. Actually, I think Ms. Vicky Filgus have actually brought in some people from like the art center and Fresno higher up. They come and seen it, and they said they were really impressed with them. So, we already have stuff here that we should be able to, capitalize on it. And I think that would help our downtown, because there's quite a few murals here in downtown, right? The mayor's building, my building. So there's talent that people to be able to see it. And, we got to showcase and be proud of what we have too. Okay.
Thank you. Tracy, bon voyage. Thank you for all your efforts for the city. You were with us through the whole pandemic, really, really challenging time for our downtown and for our merchants. And I really thank you for caring, especially with, coming up with the Bear Bucks idea when a lot of merchants had a really tough Christmas ahead of them last year. And I appreciate you pioneering that effort and wish you all the best. And I think we are moving in the right direction in downtown. I do know that, one of the hallmarks of a downtown is a smaller defined area, so that the people who are part of that can have some sort of cohesive whole. And, it's interesting, under the project summary, it says Selma's never had a formal written plan for downtown. Selma's never had cohesiveness downtown, of people who are together on downtown. And I'm really excited about a business improvement district board of people who are a part of downtown, whether they are merchants or whether they are building owners or whether they're restaurant owners or all of the above. Really important, I think, for the actual stakeholders to go downtown, and not only that, to have funds, to have resources, which will be provided by those business license fees that will be charged to be a member of the downtown business district. That will give this district and this board latitude to make some of these improvements, like pavement improvements, street improvements, and ways to get a farmer's market. Because, the people who responded all wanted a farmer's market. And I hear that all the time. And there have been efforts to get a farmer's market in Selma. And it's not for lack of effort, it's for lack of a cohesive approach to make this happen. And it's not going to happen by telling people, they can't park on the streets because, that's not the place for them to park. It's going to happen by all of us getting together and buying into this vision, which I think is moving in the right direction. But I'm really excited about this business improvement district moving forward. I've had a lot of contact from folks, particularly restaurant people, who are looking at downtown. Some are not quite ready to jump in, some are. So I'm just hopeful that the city will extend that open approach that we're getting towards, and I really appreciate that. But I think we can even do more, and with that overlay district, it's going to relax the codes, and it's going to allow our city to come back. That Second Street, how many years have we heard people get off Second Street and first thing they want to do is just, turn around and get back on 99. Now we actually have, a building owner who's improving one of the buildings that was an eyesore for many years and is actually coming back and looking better. I love seeing the development on that. It's almost a metaphor for our town of the gradual improvement that we're seeing. No, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's things like this It's this concerted approach where we, the citizens, take back our town and we take over and we decide what happens to our areas that affect us that are really important. My last thought on this is, you know, we're all for residential and for development, but what I don't think we want to be is just a bedroom community where people live here, get up in the morning, go to work, and then come back and really aren't a part of the community. They're just here because they can get the land cheap, the house is cheap. We want something to keep them here and to get them involved in the city, in nonprofits, on the city council, to run for mayor, which we elect now as people. That's what we want. And a vibrant downtown with a veterans park, with an arts center, with retail, with office space, with murals, that attracts people. That gives us something to sell ourselves on. And I think we're moving in that right direction. So I'm hopeful about that. And I think tonight is a step in that direction. Do we have anybody from the community who would like to say anything at this point about the downtown business district? Do we have anyone on Zoom or on the phone? That will bring it back.
1057 Mill Street. I just like to say Rose Robertson is business owner and business building owner also. Thank you to you, council members that actually understand what business is about in the heart of Selma, which is downtown. When you take baby steps and help our downtown first, and it's been processing, it could go faster, but again, there's some people here that want to play and continue to play the political game. Well, good luck to you. But people are paying attention to our downtown, which could be a place where people come walk. Our downtown with lights, with music, with booming business, and it's free to do that. And then they walk into other businesses. People are looking at what's happening in our town. And let me tell you, they are paying attention to who understands business in our downtown, the heart of it. They're paying attention to our public safety. They're paying attention to what's happening to our town. They're paying attention to the ones that care about public safety. You got to have public safety to have a safe downtown, safe neighborhoods, protect our businesses. No more graffiti in this town. There's graffiti everywhere, and they're trying to ignore that. People are paying attention. So thank you to you, council members. You know who you are, that want to continue to fight for our downtown. And thank you for that. It is coming along, and it will come along. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to weigh in on this topic tonight?
Regarding downtown, is there a way to put, I don't know if it'd be a moratorium or whatever, but where we need more retail. There's like so much office space, you know, more offices, but we need something to draw the people to downtown. I mean, we have Fox, we have us, we have next door. Other than that, it's pretty much just offices. We've got, you know, one restaurant that's downtown, the other one, I don't know what it's doing, if it's open or not, but is there a way just to keep more retail?
I think the situation happened because it was available because there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough retail. There wasn't enough action downtown. I know when we got our building, it was a courtyard. It was an antique courtyard. And it was, I mean, it was on the market for years and years. I think even the tenant was trying to sell it on the site in addition to the building owner. That's the kind of downtown we had and we're getting out of. And I think maybe that could take care of this is just me talking, Cheryl. Maybe it could take care of itself as it gets more retail, more popular, and more restaurants want to move down. It's going to push these things out and you're going to see where you're going to get the rent.
Can I say something in regards to the downtown? You know, it's no secret I moved here in 2000 and I sat in front of the building and I said, we need this. And here we are in 2022 and we have, and thank you, Scara, for bringing up the speakers. We did budget that. Thank you for being that. But what I want to go back to say something in regards to what the mayor stated also is, you know, back in 2000 and I sat there in 2004 and Bloomie's was actually downtown Selma Florist Shop, right? and we all talked, right? And I never envisioned that there would be a restaurant in the middle of the town, right? So it takes a while, and it takes counsel and it takes people to look at it. And, some people take it as, oh, another restaurant's gonna come, oh, this one's gonna close. No, that's wrong. As me, as a business owner of a restaurant, we need traffic. So anyone that's willing to invest in our downtown and build a restaurant right next to mine, it's not a competitive market. It's actually choice. And that's what makes traffic. So as long as me and you and Bev and all of us do our business and we keep on and have a positive role as to what we're going to do, I think we're going to be successful. Because if you look back and what we had in 2004, when I actually opened my office and Bloomie's was Selma, when we moved and you moved over, there's been a pretty progress. But I do agree that we need to bring some uniform color. I'm doing my own renovations, but I'm doing them with not knowing what Selma's doing. So it's really important. And I think what the mayor echoed in regards to, not making it a political thing and making it a unity thing for downtown. That's what's going to make downtown prosper. People unifying and talking about what's best for the community. Because at the end of the day, downtowns are what makes the community, and every community, everybody around the Fresno County. And my hope is that Selma has a downtown that thrives, that everybody can work together and, have events downtown, So I remember we had the Tejano Festival downtown. So those are things that we need to get back to, and those are things we need to do, because at the end of the day, it brings commerce and it brings traffic. So we're going to get that when we all start working together and doing things like that. So, but I thank you, Cheryl, for bringing everything up, because it's really important, and we have Fox Drugs. Fox Drugs is huge. The senior people really need that place. They know it. So, but Mr. Mayor, thank you. And that's what we need.
Thanks for these great comments. This was a great discussion tonight. With that, we'll bring it back. Is there a motion? Okay, it was a discussion item. Great, looking forward to moving forward on this, and we'll have more meetings on this in the future. Looking forward to that Business Improvement District group coming together. With that, we will move on to our departmental reports. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Tracy Tosta, our Economic Development Analyst. It's going to be very tough to see her go. She's going to leave a big void in City Hall. Since I came on board a year ago, Tracy has always shown her initiative and her willingness to work with our business owners and with staff. She didn't have the opportunity, unfortunately, to focus 100% on our economic development efforts, which I know she is really good at, because of COVID. And she took COVID and rolled with the punches and coordinated with all the business owners very effectively. And unfortunately for her, when you show your potential and your capacity, you just get more work thrown at you. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Tracy. We just kept giving her more work because she was doing really well with what she had, and she rolled with those punches as well. And so I'd like to thank you, Tracy, for all your hard work for the 2 years that you gave us at the City of Selma, and we wish you all the best going forward. And hopefully you come back at some point so we can formally recognize you at a city council meeting. I know you've got responsibilities that you have to address, but hopefully we can have you back here at some point.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the sweet words. I'm not going to say that I have dry eyes right now, but thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And I also wanted to take this opportunity, one chapter is ending with the City of Selma with one of our employees, but a new one is beginning. We were able to hire a new director of finance, and his name is Diego Ibanez. I'd like to give Mr. Ibanez the opportunity to come up to the podium and introduce himself. He comes to us from the City of San Fernando, but I'll let him share his background with the council.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and residents. The City Manager mentioned, my name is Diego Ibanez, and I recently accepted the Director of Finance City Treasurer position. Come to you with various municipal agencies. City of California City, and most recently, City of Selma. I've been to the beach, the desert, and the valley. I'm here at the City of Selma. Very grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to it.
want to say welcome, and when's your first day, Dave?
First day was last week.
Oh, you already jumped in,
Yes, please.
and you're still here. That's a good sign.
Yeah. You can- So it'd take more than that to scare me here, but I'm here for the long haul.
Good deal. Oh, welcome. Did any council member anything to say?
I'd like to say welcome. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll come back to update the council with the finance.
Thank you. City attorney, I'm sorry, were you
No,
doing
that's
something?
all I had.
Thank you. City attorney,
Nothing to report, Mayor and Council.
deputy city manager? Okay. All right, public works director, Shane Farrell. How are we doing on the stoplights at Dinuba and McCall, Dinuba and Thompson? Thank you. Our fire chief isn't here tonight. Police Commander Garza.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City of Selma Council. Unfortunately, I have some unfortunate news. This past Saturday, as you all know, we had a automobile versus a pedestrian in the area of North Hill and McCall. Just to clarify some confusion, the hit and run, it's actually a hit and run investigation, and it occurred about 2:30 p.m. All I can report at this time, the investigation is ongoing, and we currently have staff or detectives working into the investigation. And
Was that a fatality, Commander, or just an injury?
that's an injury at this, critical injury at this time.
Is the person still in the hospital?
I'm probably not gonna comment on that if you're okay with that, Mr. Mayor, just
Absolutely.
to protect the,
But it was a serious accident.
what's that?
It was a serious accident,
Well,
and it was a
yes,
hit and run.
It was, yes.
Thank you. Parks and Community Services Director. Thanks. Okay, we'll bring back to council reports. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Don't have very much. It was kind of a short week, but I wanted to thank the city manager and Commander Garza. Sorry it took me a year, but I actually took the opportunity on Monday, the 14th, to come and meet with staff. And it was a really good thing because I was able to put face to name and kind of position. Well, kind of face because everybody was still masked up. But I was able to actually meet, the staff that was here and just thank them for their hard work. Everything they do. I know when we first came on, we met all the directors, which was really the department heads, which was really good. But again, I didn't get to meet the staff. And so I really appreciate the time that you guys took me around. And then also, thank you, Commander, for taking me on a VIP tour of the police station. And, it's really good to see the police station. I know there's been a lot of, controversy on it and everything, but, and I wasn't here back then, but, and I don't know what the planning mechanism was for that, but, it's sad to hear that we're already at capacity, and it's only been a couple years. And so when we do these projects, and I know, again, none of us, or a lot of us weren't here when all this went through, but I think just having that vision of what's the potential for the growth, what do we need for the long haul, not just what's going to suffice right now. So that's really good. And as far as public safety, it actually gave me a bigger picture of it's not just the boots on the ground. It's not just who's out there, the officers. It's not just that. It's other things. It's your cameras. It's your infrastructure. It's your fiber optics. It's, all of these things that, play a big role in your public safety. I don't know if we have cameras over on McCall, but I think if we had cameras, you probably would be able to faster in the closing up the investigation. But yeah, those are just kind of like the thoughts that it's not just the boots on the ground. We appreciate all the officers, and we need the staff, we need the firefighters and all the emergency staff. I'm not saying that, but it's a bigger it's more than just the human aspect of it. It's very important, but just wanted to point that out. And so thank you so much. And then on a personal note, my husband and I took a bike ride. He has a Harley. So we went on a bike ride to Blossom Trail. It was beautiful. I wish I could have gone a couple weeks ago because everything was blooming, but this time we weren't able to see too many, but they were still, I'm sure today they're gone. But one of the things that we did do was we drove by the Reedley Sports Complex because I had heard that they have a really good sports complex out there. And Mr. Deputy City Manager, maybe we could pick your brain on that sports complex. It was small, smaller scale, but it was nice. I think it had like 5 soccer fields out there and it had a little patio. And I don't remember if it had the walk, the little walk, but there was people picnicking, out there. And so it was nice. It was on like I said, it was on Sunday night we were out there. So other than that, that's all I have. I don't have. Thank you.
Councilmember Trujillo.
First of all, I want to thank all the staff for all the hard work they've been doing. Just a little FYI, had a meeting with CID. Thank you to the city manager for, it was a positive meeting. It was very informational and received a lot of information that actually gave me the wow factor. And I just wanted to bring it to the council. Phil did a great job. He was really good, he was very informative. A couple of weeks ago past, I had also had a meeting with the city manager and the Giannis Construction. They're a great group. I feel that they're somebody that's going to come to this Selma and give and build for this community. I just want to thank them because they're actually investing into the community of Selma, and that's what we need. We need people, partners that are going to invest in our community. Third, Councilwoman Guerra brought up a good point. Mr. Manager, I'd like for you to come back and maybe bring us a report on the budgeted item in regards to the speakers. She brought a very valid point. Another one is in regards to, I guess, instead of using the word, what our code enforcement officers are doing, I'd like to go back. Maybe it's time for us to revisit some policies that we've already enacted and maybe go back and refresh these policies. Number one would be the sign policy. I see signs stuck on every corner, and it brings me back to almost crossing the border. And I bring that up because it's really the mayor brought up the fact that they get off on 2nd Street, they turn back around and leave. It's really important that we showcase that we are a professional city, that we want to help the vendors and help the businesses, but we also want to make sure that we don't have graffiti, but we don't have signs that are just sticking out. I think we have a sign policy. We should probably revisit that. The other one is in regards to vendors. If a business owner wants to allow a vendor to sit in their corner, we, the city, should have a policy, that a mechanism in there that states that if that company is going to allow an outside vendor, he should have insurance. He should have. I just think that probably we need to visit that. Those are key components of, for us as a business council that wants to represent every owner of a homeowner and a business. We should represent not only the homeowner, the business people that pay taxes and pay for a license. So I don't want to attack it in a way of saying that our code enforcement, I'd like to go back and revisit all our policies and see what we have on hand, and maybe go back and reiterate to all the people, these are policies. And if we have to send a letter to all the businesses, probably we should do that. I want to end this with, I want to reiterate the fact of how important a salary master plan schedule is to this community. When I say that, I would love for our city staff to come back and give us an update of where we're at, what we're doing. I think it's a crucial mechanism of bringing professionalism, investing into our employees, making sure that we're able to cross our T's and dot our I's. So with that, I say that to staff, we probably need to go back and make sure that we stay on that and make sure we complete those tasks. Other than that, I thank you guys. And
Thank you. Councilmember Guerra.
Yes, I attended a SKF meeting, which was a special meeting last week. And Ben Munoz, our general manager, has announced his retirement. As of March 4th, he will be retired. And the board approved Veronica Cáceres to be the interim general manager for approximately 3 to 6 months until we can find, or they can find the replacement for him. And then also I attended the unveiling for Dr. Robert Schenkerman Memorial at United Health Centers. Dr. Schenkerman died loving what he loves to do best, and that was providing the best care for his patients. He died of COVID. And to honor Dr. Schenkerman, they are going to do a scholarship fund at Fresno State for anyone, or I would say a student that's continuing to go to medical school. The scholarship will be 50,000. They're looking to hopefully do 50,000 or 75,000 for that individual there at Fresno State. So, and pretty much that's it for me.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work guiding us and all our projects coming along. I did attend a 5-city quarterly meeting. That was not too many attendance because it was Valentine's Day, maybe. So it says 5 cities, but it usually includes the 7th city plus the Fresno County also has their representative. So Kingsburg was pretty proud because they're pushing the T-Mobile. They're hiring about 1,000 people at $20 an hour, and they're pushing that out. And then Parlier came in and saying they're trying to revise their downtown also. So basically, you're talking about Councilman Guerra was talking about job fair. There is one tomorrow, and basically, where is it? It's done by the Workforce Connection. It's going to be at the Selma Plaza. It's between 2 and 5. And then some of the key employers, it would be T-Mobile, Amazon, Harrison Ranch, State Center, Community College, and more. So I'm just announcing so that way whoever's watching our show, they are looking for a job. That is one tomorrow at between 2 and 5 at the United Markets Shopping Center. Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
I attended a CalBan's board meeting. I was going to pull off the CalCard, those 6 entries for converters and catalytic. Looks like they were replacement catalytic converters. That's $12,000 in catalytic converters that have been stolen. What's going on with the vehicles? Do we have, is it continuing? Are these vehicles being kept somewhere where they're, subject to a higher incidence of converter theft? Sorry, I didn't bring it up during the check register. It's on the Cal card, but it's like 6 converters, replacement converters. What are we as a city doing about that to make sure these vehicles are not, getting their converters stolen, like storing them behind fences and things like that?
I'll have to check with our fleet supervisor about that issue and where that's coming from, what the cause is. If generally speaking, I think most of our vehicles are stored in a secure location. So I'll have to get more information.
You're familiar with those entries though on the Cal card,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
There were like 6 of them for about $2,200, about the price of a catalytic
Well,
converter.
and I know that the Selma Unified School District has had issues with catalytic converters from their buses as well, and so they've had to make modifications.
Protected,
Yeah,
lighted area.
yeah. So it's happening to everyone, and I think we'll have to get back to you on more details on that.
Got it. Thank you. Income taxes at the senior center. Is anyone going to start now with COVID that you haven't had people helping seniors, but several have come to me and said they really appreciated that. And when are they going to have that help again?
Yeah, Mayor Roberts, City Council. I know about 5 years ago, the couple retired. And then 3 years ago, we went down to a business. So, and then with COVID, I do know our recreation coordinator, Liz Martinez, was contacted by a person who's willing to do it.
Oh, great.
We follow up, and I'll put that on my weekly reader.
Great. Thank you. And then the water main where that broke at 1431 Alton, the road was kind of left in a bad condition. I contacted Cal Water and they said it's probably going to be something the city has to fix. did the city fix the damage where obviously you had to get through the concrete to get to the water main that broke? Is that in
Public
the
Works
works?
Director, have you been in contact with Cal Water about that issue?
I was in contact with Cal Water, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I was in contact and I was on scene the day it happened with Cal Water, actually till that evening. I will follow up with Stuart tomorrow.
Thank you for that. And then also that block wall that the car went into on Dinuba.
I believe that's.
That the
been
homeowners?
Turned in, yes.
Okay.
The homeowners, yeah.
I'll have to go by that. Thank you.
Welcome.
And then in terms of graffiti, I've had a couple of complaints and everybody can see it. The one I mentioned at the last council meeting next to Pro PT Physical Therapy, that hasn't been changed. So hopefully code enforcement can go out and say, you know, this needs to be addressed because they're obviously, you know, gang initials there and they've been there for a long time now. And then if you look at the east side of the wall, where the old playhouse used to be on the other side of the hospital, you can see it off of Rose, there's Technicolor graffiti there now, you know, and it's, I don't know whose responsibility that is. I know I reached out to the Adventist and I didn't even get a response. I don't know where we go from here on that.
Generally speaking, it is the property owner's responsibility, but we'll have code enforcement. I'll have our deputy city manager coordinate with the code
A
enforcement.
lot of folks come in on Rose and it's not as well traveled as Second Street, but it is a corridor from other cities. And we don't really need the graffiti greeting people, say welcome to Selma, because it's right there when you get to Selma and Venice. Thank you. In terms of street vendors, just a remark, you know, when we had a full-time police chief, he was cracking down on the street vendors. I'm not making a political statement here, but the person in front of McDonald's, I very well remember they were setting up, and this was a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they were in front of McDonald's and he was actually assigning patrol to go over and tell them to show their business license or leave. And I think we need to get back to that. Unfortunately, sometimes enforcement can go a long way just to give people warnings. And I like the idea of code enforcement on the weekends, you know, because we do have a lot of signs, you know, garage sale signs, things like that, that are unsightly. And, you know, just to beautify our town, just to show that attention to detail, the little things that make our town look good and that add up. Couple of items to put on the agenda, if we could. Can we put on the agenda to meet in person from now on? Because I'm seeing that at COG as well. And then
I'm sorry, just for clarification, you mean exclusively in person, not
exclusively
not
in
with the Zoom
person
option?
to not renew the AB 361.
Okay.
And then at least have a discussion about it. And then put on an agenda. I'd like to talk about really broad topic, but homelessness in Selma and what we're doing about homelessness. We haven't revisited that topic in a while. Could have maybe folks from the continuum of care. I know there's a pit count going on at the end of the month, and it's a really key time for addressing homelessness, and they're everywhere. They are everywhere. They're coming back, and they're coming back big. So maybe they never left. But, you know, I really want to talk about this as a city. I think we all should, about, you know, what we can do to be part of the solution on that, to a problem that never seems to go away. Hopefully we can help. Did anybody have anything for oral communications before we adjourn for the evening? Anybody on the phone or on Zoom? I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.